Hi everyone, welcome to the Psychology of Dating podcast. You are listening to me, Nadine Newkirk. I'm both a clinical psychologist and a dating coach. Today's podcast episode, I'm going to be talking about how it's normal to have stress and difficult emotions when you are chasing your dreams, when you've actualized your dreams, and how we can reframe this as something helpful. I would also like to remind you, if you have any questions, if you have any topics you'd like to hear on this podcast, feel free to send me a message on the contacts page of my website. I'll pop a link in the episode show notes. Okay, the inspiration for this podcast episode came from me texting a friend. They were having some stress in their life from something they wish they'd always had, and were wondering, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling stressed about this? I should be grateful. And I wrote to them this quote: "It's normal to have stressful parts in life, but when our brains dream of something, they don't include that. They only include the shiny bits." So when you are dreaming for something in dating, maybe you're dreaming about the dating process and you imagine being swept off your feet, having all these fun dates where you're laughing and having picnics in the park and having sparks flying, meeting someone, texting so smoothly. Maybe you're imagining that. Or maybe you have dreams about the type of person you're going to fall in love with, or what the relationship will be like when you're in it. You're imagining frolicking every weekend, having adventures, whether it's a road trip or whether it's sitting in a resort with a cocktail, or maybe you're imagining mornings, just everyday mornings, sitting at the kitchen table, doing the crossword together. Whatever it is that you're dreaming, you've built this up in your head over time, and this has come from your experiences, this has come from movies, books, hearing about other people's relationships. It's what your brain thinks, this will ultimately make me super happy if I have things this exact way. You can also have dreams about what it will be like to move in with someone and live with them, or what it would be like to have kids with them. And sometimes you don't even realize that there's all these inbuilt expectations of how it should be and what's not okay if it's in there. So if there's difficult emotions, like it's really stressful, or you maybe sometimes have low moods or anxiety, or maybe you have conflict and you fight with the person, or maybe there's some characteristics that you're compromising on. These are things that you don't generally think about in your dreams. They're not the shiny bits. And the difficulty is that life is a mixed bag, no matter what you're doing. Whether you've got your dream job, whether you're going on a holiday. Have you ever had that where you've dreamt so much of the holiday and then parts of it are so fun and super amazing, but then there's also parts where it rained or the journey was way longer expected and you got food poisoning and you threw up and you felt sick, that it wasn't shiny the whole time. There were parts of it, but there were some low periods. And this episode is to remind you that if there is some difficulty, some low periods, when you're achieving goals in dating, it doesn't mean that something's gone wrong. There is, of course, a balance. If you get into a relationship and you notice that there is no joy, that you feel really sad the whole time or angry the whole time, then you would want to look at what's going on here. Is it something to do in the context of the relationship, something in my personal life? But if you notice, okay, on balance, I'm having joys, objectively, I'm really happy, this is in line with my value, in line with my deal breakers, the values that this person holds, they match well with mine. But you also still have some difficulties. Maybe you're about to move in with them and you're feeling really anxious and your brain's thinking, what is going on? I've always wanted this. I always wanted to live with a partner. Why am I suddenly freaking out? What is wrong with me? That can be a really normal process because sometimes it's really scary to get what you want, because then there's a fear of risk, a fear if I have what I want and I'm really happy, then I can actually fall harder than if I don't have it at all. The difficulty is, though, we're not going to have no difficult emotions if we just never chase our dreams. We're also going to have misery or hardship then too. So it's always worthwhile following and chasing your dreams and trying to achieve that, even if the difficult emotions, that package comes along the ride with you. Sometimes we associate, I'll only be happy if I just have stable mood, pleasant emotions, if I never feel stressed. But that's not the truth, because you can also have incredible growth, incredible learning, doors that open that you didn't expect through hardship. I'll give a small example of when I was 18 and I was doing a Europe trip with my friend. And we didn't have much money, so we were trying to spread our money as far as we possibly could to do several months traveling. And we were in Austria, and we'd pre-booked this train ticket that was overnight going to Italy. And we had the whole day before the train. So we were kind of biding our time. I think we went to a beautiful lake for a swim. We were meeting a friend who lived in Austria. Then we still had heaps of time. So we had some food. Then we started packing our bags, and we don't really know what happened, but time was going really slow, and then suddenly it sped up and we lost a whole bunch of time, and we realized, we're cutting it fine to get to the train station. So we jumped in a taxi. We rushed there. I remember we had our giant backpacks. I wasn't quite savvy about what to pack in my backpack when I was 18. And so I was sitting down, panting with both the backpacks of me and my friend while she rushed to the counter to find where the platform was, what was going on. And we also looked at the time and realized we're going to miss it. And I thought she was going to come back with a really, sad face, distraught. But she turned around from the counter and she was smiling and skipping towards me. And I was thinking, what is going on here? We missed our train. It was an expensive ticket. She came back and she said, we've missed it. I was like, okay, but why are you smiling? She was like, actually, there's a way better train that they've booked us in, and it costs less money, it takes less time, and we're going to have more of a full day in Italy when we get there the next day. So who would have thought that by us not being able to manage our time properly, missing a train, that sometimes an even better opportunity could come from that? And it's, of course, doesn't always look that simple when you're in dating, relationships, things like that. Sometimes the growth, you only see it 6 months later, a year later. You come out of it 2 years later and you're like, whoa, I am so resilient. I came out of that and I now have this new perspective on life where I have these new skills. There are things that you will grow. They're called growing pains for a reason. So if you have reached a part in your dating relationship journey and you're having a little bit of a freak out because suddenly your mind has made up all these shiny things about this dream but forgot to include all the challenging parts of it as well, it's okay. That's normal. That is life. And if things are feeling a bit too stressful, a bit too overwhelming, anxiety feels like it's overtaking a bit too much, or you're feeling a bit too low or don't know what to do, it's also okay to ask for help, because we have a stress curve, and a little bit of stress helps us be more productive. If I have a little bit of a stress before an exam, then I will have that adrenaline to keep me focused on studying, to say no to going out with a friend. It will keep me in check. If I have too much stress, I can't think clearly. I then can't actually be productive and study. I might stay up all night ruffling papers and nothing goes in my head. So if you notice you've tipped over the other edge of your stress curve, it's okay to ask for help. Maybe it's speaking to a friend about what's going on, you haven't told anyone. Maybe it's seeking support from a health professional, a GP, a coach, a psychologist, whatever it is. Maybe it's listening to a podcast, reading a book. It's okay to pause and say, hey, I need a bit more information, a bit more support here. So if you're having all these confusing feelings happen when you're about to move in with someone, it's okay. You don't just have to manage them by yourself if it doesn't feel manageable. You can go and talk to someone, just have someone else from a different perspective, put those puzzle pieces together with you. So I'll finish again with the quote, the quote of myself that I started with at the beginning, just to wrap it up, and something that you can ponder, see if it resonates at all with anything in your life, see if you can apply it to anything that you're experiencing right now. It's normal to have stressful parts in life, but when our brains dream of something, they don't include that. They only include the shiny bits. I hope you have a lovely day or night wherever you are.